Before looking at Minhejan's behavior, we need the proper foundation. Diagnosis requires a full psychological evaluation over time, not headlines, leaked messages, or edited videos. We are not diagnosing her. I'm also not a psychologist, at least not yet. I'm still studying. We are analyzing repeated actions that align with recognized narcissistic leadership traits. A single statement might reflect stress, but repeated patterns across years and situations tells a fuller story. So what is narcissism? Clinical narcissistic personality disorder requires a pattern of grandiosity, a deep need for admiration, a lack of empathy, and a repeated behavior that affect work, relationships, or ethics. And before diving into the pattern, we also need clarity on one more thing. Min Hee-jin is often positioned as a creative genius, but when you examine her portfolio, from Girls' Generation to FX to Red Velvet to Adore, the same reference appear over and over. Vintage fashion, retro film textures, simple color palettes, youthful innocence, and Western indie photography tropes. The work is curated, not original, revived, nor transformed. A consistent visual brand, but one that never evolved beyond its starting point. This matters because exaggerated self belief without corresponding innovation is often part of the dynamic that we are about to discuss. With that context in place, let's move through the behavioral patterns. First, grandiosity. Grandiosity is a sustained belief in one's exceptional importance, authority, and contribution, often without proportional evidence. People with grandiose tendency often overstate achievements and minimize the groundwork laid by others. If you would remember, she claimed that she accomplished in under 2 years what leading boy groups achieved over many years, while fully ignoring the global infrastructure, fan base expansion, and market condition built by other boy groups like BTS. She also presented New Jeans as a product of her singular vision rather than a collaborative project supported by significant resources, including Source Music and Bang Shi-yuk. A video of New Jeans when they were still training revealed that they already had their debut songs locked in even before they transferred to Adore. Court documents also revealed she wasn't the one who chose the members, something she later agreed in court and said that she didn't mean everything she claimed to be literal. She also argued that she is the perfect person to lead Hybe's entire multi-label system because she is the most qualified without measurable criteria or peer recognition supporting her claim. Also, she said that after Hybe actually discovered all of the materials pointing to her wanting to destroy Hybe so that she can separate Adore from the company. She also assigned herself the top floor of the Hybe building as symbol of ownership and hierarchy in South Korea. That's a very important thing for them, while being the one who designed the office layout. Next, narrative control and self-victimization. This involves reshaping events to protect the self image, often casting oneself as the misunderstood or persecuted figure. It allows the person to remain the moral center of every conflict. She described Hybe's audit as a witch hunt and a public execution, even though internal audits are standard corporate practice. And even though the court confirmed it was her efforts to separate Adore and New Jeans from Hybe which prompted the audit. She also reframed her takeover attempt as a mission to protect New Jeans despite court findings that it was pre-planned self-interest. When criticized, she positioned herself as the lone artistic woman fighting a powerful system. And this is despite the fact that she was given all the favors, more than any other CEO within Hybe. She was given 20% of the company. She was given a loan personally by Bang Shi-yuk. She was the highest paid CEO. And even though New Jeans wasn't the best selling group in Hybe, not even the second best selling group, she still got all the favors that she wanted, including a dedicated makeup room for New Jeans. Taken together, her responses consistently shift the spotlight back to her own perceived suffering or heroism. exploitation, and instrumental use of others. Narcissistic leadership often involves seeing people as extensions of one's agenda. It's less about collaboration and more about utility. For example, she manipulated appearance so that they will be the one to submit a complaint letter, and even had a member revise a letter to mimic her father's tone. She directed staff to produce monitoring documents accusing It and Le Seraphim of copying and chart manipulation, meaning she had an end in mind and wanted to fit the evidence into that end instead of investigating before coming to a conclusion. She encouraged a securities analyst to issue a sell report on Hype after showing him manipulated negative materials about It. She leveraged YouTubers, producers, and acquaintances to push the copycat narrative. And more than anything else, she used the members to fight for her. If she was really thinking about the interest of the girls or members of New Jeans, she would have made sure that the girls continue their career while she fights her own fight. Lack of empathy and private contempt. Lack of empathy doesn't always mean cruelty. It often means emotional blindness to the impact of one's actions or indifference to the emotional cost on others. In leaked messages, she called New Jeans members fat and other derogatory terms, mocked fans, and criticized working with women. She mishandled a sexual harassment case at Adore, contributing to a workplace harassment ruling. She minimized the ruling as mere misunderstanding. She accused multiple Hive groups of copying with no regard for the stress, emotional and mental damage, delays, and fan hostility it caused them. She showed lack of acknowledgement of how her own actions affected Les Seraphim during their comeback or It during their debut. Reactivity to threat. This is the tendency to respond aggressively to perceived threats, real or imagined. Narcissistic personalities often escalate rather than de escalate. She messaged staff about wanting to end BTS here, targeting the company during enlistment when she believed Hybe was at its most vulnerable. She orchestrated copycat narratives to weaken Eyelit and Hybe. She did a press conference time to disrupt shareholders' negotiation. She urged analysts and the influencers to frame Hybe negatively. Entitlement and rule exemption under the guise of art. This is the belief that normal rules, procedures, or even ethical boundaries do not apply to her because her work is better than anyone else. She disregarded proper IP practice by approving uploads of Adore owned content to Dolphin Kidnapping Group's channel, justified by creative intuition. She dismissed plagiarism accusation against herself as trivial but pursued extreme action when claiming others copied New Jeans. She said that when she called Hybe executives as thugs, it wasn't derogatory. But then she sued someone else who called her the exact same word. And as I've said in the intro, she used the same borrowed references across SM and Adore era work. Childlike innocence, Lolita coded imagery, 1970s nostalgia, Brooke Shields references, but framed it as groundbreaking art. Before ending, I think it's just important for us to recognize something about human behavior. All of us display pieces of these traits at some point in our lives. People who think grand and big could blur into self confidence. People who emotionally detach from something or somebody doesn't necessarily mean they are being self centered. It could be that they're just protecting their own emotions. And people who care about their public image could simply mean because it's part of their work or it's just part of modern life. These behaviors don't make anyone narcissist automatically. What distinguishes everyday behavior from patterns is consistency, rigidity, and impact. Narcissistic behavior isn't about a moment of ego or a defensive reaction. It's really about long term pattern. When grandiosity, for example, replaces teamwork, or narrative control replaces accountability, or when the need for validation becomes more important than the actual work. Most people are just going to adjust and then reflect and then recalibrate. But narcissists would actually double down because the alternative is losing the self-image that they cannot afford to lose. And I think that is where Minheejin becomes a cautionary tale, because she had enormous potential and she had resources that most creative directors can only dream of. And she had a label designed for her and a corporation that was really willing to elevate her beyond her resume. But I think her focus drifted away from creating and building and rested into ownership and control and recognition. And the energy that she could have put in creating and growing her art went instead into proving that she was the center of everything. And I think also the mindset that convinced her she was a visionary was also the mindset that convinced her everyone was actually against her. And I think in the end, it really isn't a story of a personal downfall. It's a reminder that creativity flourishes in openness and collaboration and partnership. Um, I certainly do not think that she lost her position because she wasn't talented. As I've said, I do not think she's a visionary. I don't think she creates anything new, but she's still good. She knows how to spot something that's beautiful and recreate those things. And I think that talent and the resources she had became a vehicle for ego protection. It really stops expanding and growing, and then everything just started collapsing inward. And I think the real tragedy isn't just the conflict itself, but more importantly, it's the potential that she really diminished. Would love to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comment section below. As always, you can say whatever it is that you want to say. Just please do so respectfully. And as I continue my studies in psychology, applied psychology actually, then I will probably do more of this in relation to marketing, in relation to different creative work. And if you can, please consider donating to the channel. We are putting all of our resources in the expansion of the channel. So the next stage will be the online magazine. You should see it there. asianentertainmentandculture.com. It is on a soft launch right now. We're just loading more articles there, and then we'll do a formal launch end of the month, I'm confident, or beginning of next month. But also follow me on X, Instagram, but also on Patreon, because that's where the community is. And if you're a member of Patreon or YouTube member, I also open my membership. I do a once a week live stream, members only. It's fun. It's a more unhinged version of me. So please consider supporting me there as well. I think that is it. Join us in Patreon because we're already planning, where we're going, concerts, if there's any tours that we want, or gonna go to Seoul or Wembley or whatever. So please join us there. I'm talking about BTS concerts, and also we gather for concerts of other artists that we like. Okay, that's it. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification button. But the most important thing is for you to share the video, because that's how the algorithm will push us to new users. Thank you so much. Till next time.